Fish keeping, although a truly wonderful and rewarding hobby to get into, it does unfortunately come with its trials and tribulations, especially a dark underbelly of stuff that you don't often see on social media. Unfortunately, with many hobbies, social media does come with a very polished and glamorized look at anything, whether it comes from a person's perspective or just anything. It just has always got filters and it just looks very nice, polished and clean. And it's the same with aquariums. When you see a lot of them often online, they tend to be very polished, very clean, or the glass is immaculate, the water conditions look incredible. And they don't show you often what happens when things start to go wrong or when aquariums start to mature. And when they start to grow, things like algae or detritus starts to appear on the substrate on the bottom layer of the fish tank. I think then what happens is it causes a very sort of glamorous version of what things should be. And then when people start to try these things in their homes, they then get frustrated when things don't look as they appear on social media, say people's Instagram accounts or YouTube channels, and then they get frustrated, maybe compare themselves to that situation, and then it could cause damaging effects to the person's view on the hobby. Sometimes it means that they might just give up because things aren't always immaculate, or they realize how much work actually is involved in keeping aquariums as pristine as that. Or when you finally realize that half of the tanks that you may see on social media are often just set up, had a load of pictures taken, and then a day or two later those aquariums are dismantled and then something new is tried. I think it's just people need to be mindful of this when starting out in the hobby, as to not to compare yourself. And algae especially is a completely natural and normal thing to happen in a fish tank. A lot of people get very freaked out by it when they see it. Some people spend their life trying to battle it with trying to sort out the right lighting conditions or the right nutrient levels, and it just becomes an ongoing battle. I myself, when I first especially started creating planter tanks, used to get very frustrated when I noticed my plants started having algae on them, like blackbeard algae or green hair algae, and I used to spend my life like dosing specific fertilizers and stuff to try and get rid of the algae and just trimming all the time and everything. And I just realized how much maintenance that I was spending doing it, and then I just sort of lost interest in sort of doing that. And I think that, you know, it takes away the experience of actually keeping animals in our aquariums when you start to worry about those things. And also when you realize that when you look at these animals in their natural habitats, most of these natural habitats are indeed just completely covered in detritus, and they've got algae everywhere and they're very murky water and stuff. So the perception of what you see sometimes with fish tanks in people's homes isn't exactly what you see in the wild. So it's getting a mindset of knowing that it depends on really what you want to go for, to be fair, but you know, having that mindset that what you're seeing online may not be exactly what you should see or you do see in aquariums at home. Of course, comparing yourselves to others in the world is never a good thing anyway, especially when it comes to looking online. So it's always good to sort of base the experiences on what you're getting, especially considering you don't know the factors of the people's aquariums that you see. It could be different water conditions where they live. They might have different lighting routines. They might have different dosing routines. They might just spend their whole lives maintaining aquariums every day. Some people might not have the time to do that, and then obviously there becomes a bit of a balance. And often if you devote too much time, I found in my experience, then you just get frustrated with the constant battle of having to do loads of glass cleans and making sure that you're siphoning out all the detritus and things. And it really depends on your perspective of the hobby and how you feel. For me, I've grown to sort of be more relaxed about things and not let it bother me so much. Obviously there is certain circumstances. If you've got like an aquarium as kind of your showpiece in your house, then maybe you want that to be a bit more sort of cleaner and nicer than maybe the ones that you do that you keep yourselves as your own hobby and stuff. So it really is a perspective thing. The view of any hobby, especially a fish keeping one, is going to be subjective to the person. Remember, it's your hobby at the end of the day. You do not live your life on social media. It's not how the world works. And as long as you're happy with how the aquariums are looking, then you shouldn't need to compare yourself to the way that it is online. Remember, it's just completely natural for these aquariums to mature over time. yes, it looks great when you first set them up, they always do, and they look amazing, but then after a few months, once the aquariums start to mature, they naturally do different things. It's just part of how an ecosystem works. So it's just getting your head in that, like, manage your expectations. Like, it's not always what you see on the internet. I think that's always the big thing. It's the same with anything in life. Don't always use a reference point of the internet. It's all down to your own personal perspectives and experiences. One last thing is that obviously churning up aquariums all the time and keep doing high maintenance and having all these really expensive high performance lights and everything are great, but the effects sometimes on the fish might not always be the first priority to some people. I'm not saying everybody, but sometimes that is the case, and you've got to sort of bear that in mind. It depends if you're more focused on actually building nice artsy aquariums, or you're actually sort of in it for taking care of fish and stuff. The longer you leave it and the less you sort of do in terms of fiddling about with the tanks and moving things around, obviously makes the fish feel more relaxed and less stressed, which means their lifespan should last longer. And you know, you could see the effects of that in terms of fish being comfortable, which means they might reproduce more, and you just get to see and experience your aquariums as maybe you would a little bit more like you would see in the wild. It's obviously a different factor being that you are dealing with a home fish tank and it's not the rivers of the world that you see, but it's nice to sort of start to replicate those features and ultimately just enjoy it. Like, it's your hobby. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? If you do, I'd love to hear, and until next time, you stay safe.